it's no longer a secret that 30% of women regret their decision to divorce their spouses. We also know that the real rate of regret is far more than 30%. It's closer to 50% from studies after study, from Evo studies, from Reddit studies, from different studies. We know that the real rate of regret is closer to 50%. But the rate that is admitted publicly is about 30%. What does that tell us? What that tells us is that a lot of the decisions, not all, we have to be very clear about that, not all, a lot of the decisions to dissolve marriages and divorce were not well thought out. What again does that mean? What again it means is a lot of marriages can actually be salvaged. A lot of marriages can be saved instead of dissolving them in divorces. We're going to look at this point. 30% of people, women, are regretting their divorces and nobody's talking about it. I want us to get something very clear from the beginning. It's not every woman that gets a divorce that regrets it. And I'm going to say that again for clarity and for impact. It is not every woman that gets a divorce that regrets it. I want also to say that every divorce is not a mistake. Some divorces are justified in case of infidelity, in case of chronic violence, in cases of abandonment. So I am not condemning blanket condemnation of divorce. There are sometimes where life is threatened. There are sometimes where things have broken down to a point where it's only God that can help. So don't think I'm saying that every divorce is wrong or that every woman who gets a divorce is wrong. But having said that, we're going to look at the first reason why 30% of women admit that they regret their divorce and why the data shows that the real regret rate is actually closer to half or 50%. And the first reason is divorce is a losing game. Whether we like the sound of it or not, that's what it is. Divorce is actually a losing game. I know this is a sensitive topic, so we're going to say with a lot of carefulness, I'm being very sober concerning this. Why do I say that divorce is a losing game? When a woman gets a divorce, most times, except when the woman is the breadwinner of the family, the woman loses about 45% of household income. If the husband that is divorced was the breadwinner of the family, 45% is lost, is gone. And so you now have to live with the remaining 55%. The only times when this does not happen, when this is not the case, is when the woman was the breadwinner or the major income earner in the family. Second of all, when a divorce happens, the woman loses in most cases about 45% of her friends, because there are going to be a lot of her friends that are going to start to withdraw from her because of the divorce. Some don't want to be as close as they used to be. Some don't want to invite you to events the way they used to do. Some don't want to be very close because you're now called a divorced woman. Some people are going to say, don't be too close with that divorced woman. She could teach you her ways. She could make you to start to think about divorce. Be very careful with that. And then again, there's a class of women that don't want you to be very close with their husband because you don't have a husband. They're afraid maybe you could snatch their husband or start to look at their husband in one way or the other. So for many reasons, a lot of friends are lost when you lose your marriage. And then the third one, most women who get divorces lose about 45% of the time they used to spend with their children. That is so because the children are going to spend about 45% of that time with their father, except in cases where the court of law says this father is incompetent, this father is not capable, this father abuses children, this father is a drug addict. Because of that, this father cannot spend time with the children. In the absence of that, the children are going to spend about 45% of all their time with their father. They used to spend 100% of all their time with you, 100% of their birthdays, 100% of their Christmas, 100% of all their events, 100% of everything they used to spend with you. But when the divorce happens, they will spend at least 45% of the time with your father, and then you are left with 55%. So you lose 45% or thereabout of your time with your children. You lose about 45% of your household income, except you are the major breadwinner, and you lose about 45% of your friends. And that's why we call divorce a losing game. And most women, when they factor all this in, they start to think, maybe I was too rash. Maybe we could have salvaged this marriage. Maybe we wouldn't have gone to divorce. Or even if we were going to divorce, maybe not as fast as we did. Most women, when they leave their marriage, they expect that the grass will be greener outside their marriage. Most women are convinced in the last days of their marriage that when we leave this marriage, we are going to a greener grass. The grass will be greener outside their marriage. But that's in their mind. Unfortunately, when they actually leave the marriage and go outside or get the greater freedom they were looking for, they shockingly find out that the grass was not greener, or the grass is not greener outside. In some cases, they even find out that the grass they left is greener than the grass they are coming to. What does that mean? Most people who are aspiring or desiring a divorce, they believe this divorce will give us greater freedom. You might ask me, freedom to do what? Freedom to date, freedom to meet a better man, freedom to probably travel more, freedom to go on vacation, freedom to do a lot of other things. Unfortunately, again, when they now get outside after the divorce, they find out that dating is not as much fun as it was when they dated in their 20s. Dating, when you are in your late 40s or early 50s, a lot of that is on apps, dating apps. The people you meet are not as eager to get married as we talk. A lot of them just want somebody to spend time with. You'll be shocked how many of them are not interested in you. They're interested in sex. So they just see you as sex, not any other thing, not a spouse. So the first thing that happens is that you find out that dating is dreadful at 50. Dating is not the fun you thought it would be. Dating is not like what you had when you were in your 20s. So in the area of dating, you get disappointed. And a lot of other areas where you thought is going to be a lot of fun, you will quickly find out that it's not as much fun as you expected. Of course, we know there are outliers. What do I mean by outliers? There are a small percentage of women that everything they expected they will see for one reason or the other. Maybe because they are younger, maybe because they are well-to-do, maybe for one reason or the other. They see the dating is exciting, the vacations are exciting, everything they expected will fall in place. Of course, I don't want to deny that because that will be saying half truth. The whole truth is that a lot of people don't find dating as delighting, as exciting as they expected. Dating at 50 is more challenging. Dating at 60 is a different story. So because of the fact that when women get divorced, they find out in a lot of cases, except in cases where there's violence, except in cases where there's chronic addiction, except in cases where maybe there's chronic infidelity, most women find out that the grass is not always greener outside. Most women also come to find out after the divorce, after the fact that yes, their marriage was not perfect or near perfect, but it wasn't unbearable. I'm going to say that again. A lot of women, after they get divorced, after the first year or the second year, they start to realize from seeing other people's marriage, from hearing stories from other people, from seeing what other people are going through, what other people are enduring, what other people are putting up with. Yes, my marriage wasn't perfect, but it wasn't unbearable. In other words, I could have endured, I could have put up with my marriage. It wasn't as bad as I thought because they've seen other people's marriage, they've seen what other people are going through, they've seen other people's lived experiences, lived realities, lived truths, and it starts to dawn on them that yes, my marriage wasn't perfect. No marriage is perfect. They discover very late that even though their marriage was not perfect, it wasn't unbearable. It could be endured. They would have stayed in their marriage like other people are staying in their own marriage. So we are saying this because a lot of women, when they discover this point, this fact, they discover it very late, or should I say too late? Because as you know, divorce is final. It's not something you say, well, after this divorce, let's start over again. Of course, that's possible. People have done that, but most times divorce is final and divorce is life-changing. So by the time they find out that yes, their marriage wasn't perfect, but it wasn't unbearable, the marriage is already broken beyond repair because the divorce papers are final. Everything is done in the court, everything is, the household are separated, children are separated, schools are changed, everything is changed, names are changed. So they discover very late. The next point I want to talk about is that social media has become a menace to marriages. Social media, especially TikTok, Facebook, has become a menace, has become a danger to marriages. So many people buy into social media script, social media philosophy, TikTok theology, where they tell you that divorce is empowering, divorce is loving yourself, divorce is choosing yourself. The last one I hear now is that divorce is glowing up, not growing up as in growing. No, this one is glow, G-L-O-W, glowing up. And a lot of women buy into these philosophies on TikTok, buy into this theology of divorce is good for you. And so even when they have a good marriage in quotes, they begin to aspire, I need to experience this divorce, I need to see this divorce, because people are telling you it's empowering, so you could travel more, so you have greater freedom, so you have greater love, so you have greater this, so you have greater choice. I mean, if people have to package divorce as empowering, so what marriage is disempowering or unempowering. That's what it means. People are saying marriage is wrong, marriage is disempowering, marriage is narrowing you to a man. Divorce opens you up, so you can date a lot of men, you can travel with a lot of men, you can be with a lot of men. And women are buying into this in their 30s, in their 40s. And so we see women who are 45, 55, and they're through their third marriage. You're just 45, you've married 3 times. You are 55, you've married 3 or 4 times. So, but unfortunately, what TikTok is telling you, this philosophy, this theology of marriage is empowering, marriage is loving yourself, marriage is choosing yourself, marriage is that, marriage is that. By the time they get out of their marriage, they find out that it's not exactly how it's painted. The picture that was painted is slightly different, significantly different from what you are seeing, what you are living, what you are experiencing. Again, by the time you discover that, it's already late. So you start to ask yourself, was TikTok correct or was it wrong? This philosophy of disempowering, where is the empowerment? I don't feel empowered. Where is the glowing up? I don't think I'm glowing. I think I'm depressed. So a lot of women who quickly run towards divorce because they think it's empowering, and then they get relief, instant relief. The relief immediately starts to begin to look like regret instead of relief. Finally, we want to talk about why a lot of women hate to admit that they regret their divorce. A lot of women hate to admit that they regret their divorce because the first thing that happens when you say you regret it, especially if the woman initiated the divorce. In countries where we have data survey that is reliable, like in the US, almost 70% of divorces today are initiated by women. So when they initiate the divorce and they find out after 1 year or 2 years that the divorce is not what they expected, the experience, the lived experience, the real experience is different from what it was painted to be, they still want to give the impression that they're satisfied, that they're totally satisfied, that they have no regret. Because to accept that you regret it means accepting that you lived a lie, that your philosophy was false, that what you believe was wrong, that you're not as good as you said you are. Again, there's a lot of ego at play, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of support structure that are around you. The same people who told you that divorce was good, the divorce was empowering, you still want to hang around them, so you need to accept the fact that, okay, divorce is good, divorce is satisfying. But internally, a lot of women regret why they had to go to divorce, especially for people who know that their marriage, though was not perfect, was not unbearable. But women hate to admit that they hate their divorce, that they regret their divorce. And that's natural. A lot of people, because of pride, because of ego, because of the cognitive dissonance that's created in their mind when they find out that the philosophy was false, that it was a fallacy, that you will be empowered when you get divorced. But they have to live with that. They try to numb the feeling. They try to numb the feeling and say, well, I'm happy with my divorce, and you'll be happy with your divorce. So they continue to sell the ideology of divorce to other young women who are not well informed. We need to be guided. So many marriages, like I said from the beginning, can be salvaged. So many marriages that are dissolved in divorce can actually be solved instead of having the marriage dissolved. So we are teaching, we are urging a lot of restraint, a lot of discernment, a lot of discretion, a lot of good judgment, because divorce is final, divorce is life-changing, and the impact of divorce goes beyond you, it goes goes to the next generation, it goes to your children. So we need to be very careful when we're thinking about that. If this message spoke to you, I want you to subscribe. Share with everybody you think should listen to this message. As we do that, the algorithm helps to show it to more people. If you are new to the channel, my name is JP Forward. See you in the next video.